Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening, Amit. How are you doing?
I'm ecstatic and happy, as you can imagine.
Yes, of course. I think we did some of the pre-game stuff just for the listeners here. India clinched an amazing 6-run victory at the Oval to level the series at 2-2. The nail-biting finish was just incredible. I mean, it was came down to the fifth day, came down to England needed 35 runs, India needed 4 wickets. And what a performance by Mohammad Siraj. And we'll talk about each of the performances, but quickly wanted to get your thoughts on it. I did like a maybe a 3 minute recap before going to work after watching it live. So I know by now you would have caught up on a lot of the highlights. So just wanted to give you a chance to talk about your initial thing, and we can dive down into some of the notable performances in this test and also the test series in general.
Yep. So, anything I say now, there is a danger of speaking with a lot of emotion because it just happened, right? Um, but I got to say, this is definitely among the top few recent test series, at least that I can recall. And for that series to culminate in a match like this, which went to the fifth day, just like every other test, and where I don't think both sides had an even chance at the beginning of the day. I thought England was going to win easily, but for the outcome to happen, it's it's unreal. It really is unreal. I mean, it's kind of similar to the T20 World Cup win over South Africa, where South Africa was like all set to win, and suddenly things started turning around, right? So it just makes you respect the game of cricket and the test format even more. There's always surprises. You can never take anything for granted, right? And I mean, I couldn't have asked for a more fulfilling test series and a more fulfilling end to that test series.
Mhm. Yeah, so just watching it live, and I was kind of wondering um, why India was not taking the new ball. And because for a while it seemed that um, both Prasidh Krishna and Siraj were breathing fire. I mean, they were bowling really well, close LBW decisions here and there. One of them went their way, and one of them didn't go their way. But then you knew Chris Wokes was going to come back to play, and then there was no doubt um, that he was going to come and try to be the hero. But I don't think he got to face a single ball, and then it was down to Atkinson pretty much, um, and and he did a phenomenal job of hitting a six. Akash Deep. I mean, this is one thing that he was kind of trailing away, trying to catch it. The ball goes to the six, and you kind of felt that this was very similar to what happened to Siraj yesterday against Harry Brook, where he was in
Right.
the boundary, ball goes to six. So it felt that one swing of the bat, and when it came down to, I think 10 runs after that six, that's when I thought two swings of the bat, the game is over. That's all. Um, and I really thought that I mean, it was still advantage India, but I thought England could have easily pulled it without Chris Wokes even batting. But
Mhm.
credit to Siraj. I mean, he was bowling at 140 miles per hour, even in his 31st over. And Prasid was an able support, and he really bowled well. I mean, I was very impressed with both Prasid, Krishna, and Siraj as well. Um, and then India came back to win from like you talk about, right? They were 330 for four and 45 runs. That's all. 40 plus runs separated, and they won. They got all the 6 wickets. So, and you're right about it. I mean, that's something that they alluded to it. You did say they were going to use the heavy roller, and that's something that Shubman Gill was asked about. But he said we just have to be prepared for this game, and then we prepared. We were just prepared. We were pretty confident going in. We were going to give everything out there. The good news there is that India did not drop any catches. There was one ball that kind of went low. Rahul took it on the first bounce, but it was not a catch. But other than that, the resiliency of Siraj, who was breathing fire, um, and England took the lead in the first inning, but then India had 396. But there were so many performances I wanted to talk about. Let's start talking with Siraj. He was the highest wicket taker for India. So, hear your thoughts on his performance in general. He played not only this test but all the five tests, and then overall how he did
Yeah, I
over the years.
yeah, I think so. I, I'm not going to look at the stats because I mean, one of the reasons he's the highest performer could be that he's the only one who played all five tests, right? So when you play more, you get more wickets. I think it's beyond that, though, his value. So, first of all, I think he is the heartbeat of the team. I really do. He's like the spirit of the team, the heartbeat of the team. I think you won't think of him as like a natural leader, maybe, but like he has the ability to galvanize and charge up the whole team through his actions. So that's one thing. Like just the spirit is there. He's always competitive, always feisty. He's always giving his best effort. And think about that, right? When Kohli was a captain and the running between the wickets, he set the standard for that. And plus this emotion part too. Kohli was really good at that. Sometimes he overdid it, but so it's like Kohli's gone, and now this is Siraj is the next. I almost feel like the next in that thing. Obviously he's not setting standard for fielding or anything like that. He's got his limitations, but he's setting the standard for giving it all, maximum effort, and the Iron Man nature. I mean, him. I have equal respect for Ben Stokes. Like guys like that. Pat Cummins definitely falls into that category. And whenever we tour Australia or when they come to India, this guy is like tirelessly. He'll keep on bowling. Pat Cummins, right? So there are a few gems like that. And you got to obviously Jimmy Anderson probably set the standard for that, right? So you just tip your hat to that aspect of the game as well. So absolutely, I think he emotionally carried them, emotionally gave them hope. I mean, they're in a pretty hopeless situation where Root and Brooks were
Brooks.
going, right? And even
Yep.
after Brooks fell, you felt like okay, Root's there, and it's like what hardly any runs needed, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, so I think hats off to him, absolutely.
Yeah, the thing you brought a very good thing, which I was listening to this. There's a cricket podcast. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It's done by two British guys, and
Oh, I think
they're
you
kind
did
of
before. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah. I
same
know
guys.
them.
I
Yeah.
just listened to them on my way back home, and they exactly alluded to what you just said. And they said he Siraj has basically channeled the spirit of Kohli in
Oh, really?
yes,
It's funny.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
was
if
just
multiple people have the same reaction, it probably is true,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So um, I think it was great to see Siraj kind of being the life blood of the team. The life. I mean, he was pretty much. There was something another stat I saw where he bowled 185 overs, which is close to the workload is almost equivalent to 47 IPL Test matches, IPL matches.
No, it's
So
ridiculous. It's nobody. I mean, very few bowlers have come close to that, right? And for that, in the fifth match, in the second innings, to bowl 30 odd overs and still come at 140 miles per hour, can you imagine? Like that is. I don't think it's just physical stamina. I really believe this, trailer. I think there's something else inside stuff he's made of, like this that some people are better than others at that. Just getting that last drop and extending
the
that
winning
last drop
gene,
of energy. Yeah,
the winning gene, you
just
call it.
the
And
spirit,
you
the
know what?
spirit, not even winning. It's not even winning. It's just giving your best and like defying like physical limitations, kind of almost, right? Willing yourself to do it. I think that's the right word to do it. Just willing yourself. He probably didn't have any energy left. I can guarantee you that. And it just keeps on coming. It's just I I can't just focus on just this match. Like my reaction, it just naturally went to like this series as well. I have a lot of things to say about the series. And just even broadly than that, I couldn't help feel really great about Test cricket, right? Especially the last two series that India have had. They've been pretty lame, non-contest, and those things are not fun for anyone between any two sides. But when two good sides play, every day is like a seesaw. That is what Test cricket is about. And I think it was, again, I remember 23, 22, 23, around that time, there was an Australia England series. in
Mm.
England Ashes, which went like this, like pretty much every game. I remember one game like Pat Cummins, he was the only one left, and he brought them to victory. And so I forgot like how it ended. I think it ended 2-2 as well. I might be wrong, but it's like
Yeah,
one of those series. Every game is fiercely contested. It was
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. The interestingly, when you go and look at every test, every this one, I got to see some of the highlights when I came back. The the first test match was indeed
Hmm.
a 6-run lead for um, India, and it turned out to be the 6 run was the difference in the end. And this is the closest margin of win for India ever in Test
Hmm.
cricket in the 93-year history of Indian Test cricket. I mean, of course, they've had a tight Test match with Australia in Chennai, but this was the closest margin of victory in a Test match for India in
Hmm.
its in the entire history of Test cricket. But
Yeah, which is not
going back,
surprising, right? Because test matches generally don't come this close.
they
Even a
don't.
20-run difference is considered a close match, right?
Right, which was
So,
the
yeah,
last Test match, right?
right,
Which was the third Test match.
right.
Um, so and then I mean this series was as phenomenal as could be, and I mean you saw the first Test match where India scored 471 and 364 and still lost the match by 5 wickets.
Right.
Um, they chased down 371 runs. In the second Test match, India was just phenomenal. Of course, you had Shubman Gill won by 336. Third Test match, England won by 22 runs, where India was, and it was very poetic justice because remember how Siraj got out in that match, how the ball rolled
Hmm.
onto the stumps, and it was very heartbreaking
Hmm.
for him to see that. But I think players like him are made of that. He doesn't, and not a bad day doesn't bother him. He just comes back. Even yesterday, right? When he drops the catch, you almost think that the commentary was that, oh, has Siraj, has the match slipped out of Siraj fingers after that? Because
Hmm.
it was a very critical play. Not right at that moment. As Root and Harry Brook were going, you could see that that was something that was on everyone's mind about if it that was going to cost the game. But anyway, um,
Yeah, I think I would say that about both teams, more so about
yeah.
India. I think just this coming back from adversity thing, right? Imagine first test, like you said, they score 470 or something like that in the first innings and still lose the match. You can go two ways, right? You could easily after that go like, man, I don't know what else we can do. Like if 476 in the first innings is not enough to get these guys out, the pitch is supposed to get worse. It's either they batted so well that they made it look easy or the pitch got easier. Like it's like all conventions were thrown out the wind. So easily the team could have like lost confidence, right? And for them to come back and win that. And I would say England too. I mean, after losing the second test match by like 300 something runs, that was as convincing a victory as for India as possible, right? They came back. I mean, they hung in there. They came back. There were many points in that third test match when they were down. India had the clear advantage, and they sort of kept fighting. Even this test match, right? Like the third end of third day, or whenever it was, India, yeah, end of third day, India,
End of third day.
they dropped six matches in India's second innings, six
Yep.
catches. So they could have easily like let that impact them. Especially, I think 370 was a pretty daunting target on this surface. This was
Hmm.
not like the first test match where the pitch seemed much flatter. Um, I think Root and Brooks just batted just amazing. I watched some pockets of it and like just the pure stroke play, like the and not taking risks. Like when they were in their prime, they're hitting these cover drives and lovely shots, right? So I think both teams really fared well in that sense. I would say if I look at the overall series, though, I would give an edge to India because it's away, right? There's a huge home field advantage in Test cricket. Secondly, I think it's a new team. There were many players who are touring for the first time. It's not a very young team, unlike what many people think. There's still people who are kind of in their 30s or late 20s, many of them, but it is a relatively inexperienced team, at least in like 3, 4 spots, right? And then,
Yeah.
Bumrah's load has to be managed, so he wasn't there. Pant missed 1.5 games, right? Like those kinds of things. So, and I would argue Pant is probably one of their best batters Bumrah and Pant are probably their two best test players, pure test players, right? So I think to like come with a new side, new skipper, everything, and to even out the series on an away series against a pretty good. I think England is a pretty good team. That's amazing. Pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, just to go back, right? Even in the third Test match, the score was actually tied, right? Remember that?
Hmm.
Yeah, after both the first innings, but um, and again in the match that they lost by 22 runs, they were only chasing 190 odd runs, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
and they could have easily won that, but again, it came down to very poor batting. But I mean, come on, the key performances that I did want to talk about in this match. Obviously, for India, the first inning, you had, uh,
Yes.
yeah, Jaiswal was just no,
No,
that was the
Jaiswal
second
scored in
inning.
the second innings, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the first inning it was like Karun Nair who played amazing,
Yep.
and then in fact, if you look at it, it was Jurel and Washington Sundar gave some support at the end, but then
Hmm.
the Indian tail continued to wag. But again, the first inning for England, it was Zach Crawley and Duckett who gave a great start. And at one point, we India was 224 all out. At one point, England was 140 for two, and
Hmm.
then you thought it's going to be another day where they're going to post another 100 and 200 runs, but they limited the damage there. But then in the second inning, I mean, this was one of the best innings I've seen Jaiswal play in the sense that he actually was much more subdued, 118 and 164. But the key here is the amazing partnership with Akash Deep, who scored 66.
Oh, yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was, I
Absolutely.
mean, he contributed more with the bat
Set the
than the
tone for
ball.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Set
of
the tone
course,
for
it
the
was
remaining batters too.
exactly. And
Yep.
then Jadeja and Washington Sundar having those 250s. Um, I mean, think about even the last wicket pair, right? It was 357 for 9 for India. And it was, I
Hmm.
think they said, I think Krishna didn't even score, right? It was all 20,
Right. He was
it
zero
was all
cue
runs
balls.
by.
Not even did he not score. Um, Sundar, unlike in the previous test matches, he managed to get a single of the last ball and pretty much every time it
Yeah,
counted.
and then hit four sixes, right? So I think,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, those are all key. I mean, that's what I was thinking about in terms of the performances by all-round players. All the players from different parts of the game, whether it's Akashdeep in batting,
Totally.
Sundar in batting,
Totally.
Jadeja, and then Siraj was just unbelievable. And I saw
I mean,
another
if you
stat.
think about it, right, literally you go down, probably the two players who didn't contribute much in this game are Rahul and Shubman Gill.
Exactly, you're right.
Otherwise, pretty much
Another
everyone, right?
tremendous, another
Jaiswal had a good
tremendous.
inning. Sudarshan
Yeah.
had one good inning, I think, right? Didn't he score like 60 something in the first innings? I think
Uh,
Sai Sudarshan did that. Or am I
yeah, size
confusing between
did.
the previous? Yeah, then Karun
No,
Nair
that was the
had
previous
50
one.
over
I
there,
think that
right?
was the previous one, and I think in this
Oh, that was
one,
the previous one. He scored 30
that's the
something,
previous
right?
one.
He
In this
scored
one,
like 20
Sudarshi
plus.
scored. He was actually playing well. He scored 38 runs, and then
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
mean,
him and yeah, Gill and
everyone,
him
right? If
were
you go
having a
down
good
the thing,
partnership.
right? Everyone scored. So I think, and I think both Gill and Rahul get a pass for. I mean, they did a lot in the first four Test matches.
They
So, being I think they're
yeah.
number one and number two, right? Like probably in the series by a long margin. So no, I think pretty much if I think everyone kind of did their bit. Like Akashdeep, you're exactly right. He was a bit disappointing with the ball, right? Like he didn't do much in this last match. I don't know if that niggle was still bothering him or what, but he did his part with the bat. I mean, if he doesn't score at 66, who knows where it goes, right? So
Yeah,
I think it's just clutch performances by pretty much almost every member of the team. I think Jurel, I thought, did played pretty well in the second innings. He was looking
and
very
I think he
fluent.
did very well. Good keeping. I thought he was very safe keeping. There were a couple of times the balls almost, he stopped a ball from going to the boundary in the
Yeah,
especially in the second inning. Um,
yeah,
I thought he played good. Yeah, I think to your point about Rahul and Gill, I think they did their damage in the first four Test matches, and for Gill, let's talk about. I did want to cover one thing about Siraj. I was just looking at a
yeah.
stat in which I thought you would really really appreciate. In Test cricket, Gabba 5 for 73, Lords 4 for 94, 4 for 32, Cape Town 6 for 15, Edgbaston 6 for 70, and the Oval 4 for 86 and 5 for 104. Iconic
Mhm.
spells. Really, pretty much,
Yep.
he has starred in almost all these overseas victories India has had in this decade, right? Pretty much. So, interestingly, I saw something about he's now, again, Bumrah is Bumrah. Obviously, one of the greatest bowlers he has done, fast 200 wickets and things like that. But very quietly but truly, Siraj is definitely, obviously he was not picked for the Champions Trophy. He had a very poor series in New Zealand. He had a poor series in Australia last time we went there. So there was a lot of questions about him, and I think he answered every um, test in the paper. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just phenomenal. I mean, and he
I've,
gave everything that you want to ask for, the fast bowler.
yes, he did. I do feel, however, that, you know, he was definitely being less effective with over time in general. So this was a revival kind of thing for him. But one thing I've just realized is I think he performs well when Bumrah is not on the sides. When he's the main dog, there's something about that. If I remember, you remember we chased the 325, 329 Rishabh Pant century or whatever in the fourth innings in Australia, like 4 years ago, whenever. So in that innings, Siraj was the one who took like 5, 6 wickets in the second innings of Australia to set us that target, right? Like Bumrah didn't play that. He was injured or whatever. So there's something to be said about that. I think when he's the top dog, whereas if he's with Bumrah, he has lost some of his effectiveness because otherwise this should be a pretty good opening tandem. And he's just not. He's been a bit wayward and all that. Um, the other thing I will have to note, I know they played on flat pitches, but I was, to be honest, a little bit disappointed in Bumrah. I don't think he was that. He had a very good, like when he got the 5 wickets, I think it was a first test or something like that. I mean, he was really good then. But like in the second or third test match that he played, when he was bowling down the leg side, I mean, he was just either tired or losing his effectiveness and all that. So I would say Bumrah was not Bumrah, and that actually makes it even more key for India. Like when they negated our best bowler, right? Pretty much. Still, we just mustered just barely enough to achieve this victory with a couple of
Yeah,
pretty fresh new bowlers, right? Prasidh Krishna and Akashdeep. I don't think any of
yeah,
them had played a test match in England before. So
yeah. I mean, I think impressive. I mean, I was impressed with the way Prasidh Krishna was bowling this, especially this morning. The way he was swinging the ball, both Siraj and
but he's
Krishna.
very inconsistent. I mean, something he has to, if he wants to like really take the next step, he needs to be more consistent. I think he's got the height, he's got the pace. On a bowler friendly attack, he can be good. He's capable of taking wickets. I I I hope there's another gear in him where he gets a little bit more consistent because pretty much every game he's going at 5 or 6 and over, and he's targeted by the other side, right? So that's something to work on. I mean, Akash, if he didn't get any wickets, but at least he kind of kept it relatively tight. And what
And
happens
then
is
he, yeah,
you release pressure when you start leaking runs in boundaries and sixes. You release the pressure that the other side is building up, right? That happens a lot
yeah,
in Test match.
yeah. And Akashdeep. I mean, to be honest, I mean, he bowled 20 overs, but he gave up 85 runs. But Siraj was obviously the pick of the bowlers. Even if you look at the first inning, England's first inning, actually, Akashdeep, he only had one wicket. It was just pretty much Prasidh Krishna. Actually, I was very impressed with the way Prasidh Krishna bowled in both the first and second inning. He took 4 wickets in the first
Mhm.
inning, then 4 wickets in the um, and then I think 4 wickets in the second inning too. So
Akash
I mean,
did his part in the first win. He did his part in that match. He really played well
yeah,
in that, right? He was not as effective in this one, but yeah, he did his part in the third match that we won. No, the second match that we won.
yeah,
I mean, let's special mention like Jadeja, probably the most consistent throughout this tournament. It's hardly an innings where he failed. If you look at just pure consistency across both teams, right? Like even he's probably even more consistent than Joe Root, though obviously, when Joe Root scored, Jadeja got just one century. Root got 2 centuries, I think, or three. So Jadeja and Sundar. I mean, I hope Sundar is here to stay. The thing is, what we achieved was having two all-rounder spinners in the side, and still got this result is amazing. Because what India really needs when they play in overseas on pace-friendly conditions, they need a bowling all-rounder, just like like Pat Cummins or guys like that, right? They don't have that right now, and that's I mean, Shardul Thakur is like you'll get one good innings once in a while from them. You'll get him take he'll take like one or two key wickets once in a while, but it's okay. I would like to see an upgrade, and they don't have that right now. I think having spinner all rounders. I mean, Akshar Patel is equally capable. So all these three lefties, right? Jadeja, Akshar Patel, and Washington are awesome. And imagine now you're playing in spin friendly conditions; they can bat and bowl. So
Yep. I
they
mean, once
have
you
to
come to
really
India, I
find.
think yeah,
Yeah, so that was amazing that they kept just three pacemen in this pace friendly conditions in the fifth match, and they had to keep
yep,
these two spinners mainly as batsmen, right? And to hold the fort on the overs and like so that the ballers don't tire out. And they got away with that. That's actually to me, it's pretty amazing.
yeah. I
So
mean, I
I think
think
all their
again,
bets paid off in a way, right? Like they just all these bets paid off. I remember the every time the selectors, like even for the first test match and all that, like they were doubting. Everyone was doubting the selection, and every time whoever they picked worked out. The only guy who didn't work out was that Kamboj guy, right? Like that was turned out to be a dud. But pretty much when they picked Akashdeep, he did his thing. Karun Nair, they brought him back. He did his thing in the first innings now, right? And Sundar, since they picked him, like he's been consistent. So
yeah,
somehow the selections really work for them.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to kind of quickly talk about is that, and obviously Shubman Gill. Let's talk about him as a captain and then as a coach, Gautam Gambhir. But Shubman Gill excelled with the bat. He was a few runs short of what Bradman's record would be for a most runs scored by a batsman in a five-test series. He barely missed out. I mean, if it not for the run out, um, and um, he would have actually overtaken that. But I thought there were times when he was really excelling, and as a captain, and of course, as a young captain, you have to give him a chance. But
Mhm.
especially for putting a young captain on the away from India, I thought he did a good job overall. And your thoughts on
Mhm.
that?
I think the best way any captain can do well is by performing what their role is beyond the captainship, right? So as a batter, batsman, all rounder, whatever. And I think just let his bat do the talking. I think that helped him immensely, first of all. Like just the overall confidence, right? Anytime a captain has a lean patch, that adds up to the overall pressure. I think this actually alleviated a lot of pressure. Yeah, he made his share of mistakes as you would expect him to do. Um, I think I think he let people get to him a couple of times during batting. I thought in that third test match that they lost, right? Like he came kind of towards the end of the day and he was like getting very aggressive, and just the previous day they had that whole Crawley incident, right? All those things. So I think that's something hopefully he can learn. um, I think they started smartly in this last test match in the second innings of England, where they had a sweeper cover, they had a deep square leg right from the first over, so that's almost like an inside out field. They sacrificed maybe one catcher, but they stemmed the flow of boundaries when Duckett and Crawley were batting. And Crawley started hot, and then he went for like 20 balls or something without scoring a run, and like then he scored one run and got out, right? So I think they did well. I mean, hats off. I don't know what happened. If the pitch eased up or what. I don't know how Root and Brooks were able to score so many runs so easily, but I think he did his part. So I think he's learning. Um, but I think there's something in this side. They showed themselves. They couldn't have fared any better, I feel. And I think this will give them a boost for whatever future series there will be. So, yeah. Coaches, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of Gambhir, having a word with that groundsman and cursing him. I mean, show class, man. I mean, come on, man. Even if
Yeah,
you disagree, I think he had a valid point, but I think you can't be like saying, "Who are you? You're just a groundsman." That's just cheap, man. But I mean, I don't know how to evaluate coaches, to be honestly, because unlike in football, in American football, right, where the coaching impact is more obvious. I think here it's less obvious. I don't know. So it,
Mhm.
the locker room is
Yeah,
tight, and if they believe in themselves, then he's doing a good job, I guess. So I don't know.
I guess so. I mean, I think they seem to be rooting for each other. It seems that way. You don't see much that, and I think when you think about the core group of young players, right? Um, you know, when you young players that you have, um, honestly, with the young players with Jaiswal, Gill, Washington Sundar, then Siraj is you can consider him, you know, I mean he's kind of like he's been there since 5 6 years, 5 years, but he's still one of the
No, no, more
I
than that.
think
Siraj is not
he's
young.
oh,
Siraj must be 29, 30, right? Easily 30 years old. He's been
yeah
around, man. He's been around for a while. I mean, it took him a couple of years to get into the side. I think he was playing T20s and not T20s, but like ODIs and all that. And he was pretty young then, but that was a long time ago.
yeah
So I don't think the side is that young as everyone makes them out to be. Jaiswal is young, yes. Rahul is not. I guess they are. I mean, Gill is young. Sudarshan is young. Karun Nair is not. Jadeja is not. Sundar is. Sundar is a huge thing. I mean, he's only what you were telling me the other day, right? He's in spite of playing so much, he's only like 24 or something, or 25
yeah
or
he
something.
is
Like he started super early. So there's hope there. Yeah, it's a mixed thing. I mean,
yeah
yeah, it is on the younger side for sure, compared to at least what it used to be, right? I
yeah.
still think,
The,
for future series, they have to figure out their bowling problem. Like if Bumrah can play only periodically, I think one of these guys, Akashdeep, maybe Ashdeep, maybe Prasid Krishna, maybe someone else, they need to really emerge and not having to rely on like a superhuman Siraj effort every time if Bumrah's not playing, right? So I think they need to find like one more good pace bowler and then one pace all rounder, which is a tall order. That's not easy to do, but I think they need to find that.
yeah the other thing is that obviously this is going to be a huge thing. This is when you want like a series with Australia or something like that. Somebody actually
Hmm.
mentioned something on Twitter, basically saying you just need to have a tri-series test match between India, Australia, and England, and you just enjoy the
Yeah,
test series. It
I
that
mean
would be
South
just phenomenal.
Africa for that matter too, right? That South Africa is a pretty good side too. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I see what you mean. Yeah, that'll be awesome. I don't think it'll happen, but that'll be awesome. Now, keep in mind, I think Australia, it's a little bit different. It's a different kind of challenge. I think the bowling is much better than England. It's much, much, much better. It's actually amazing how still like Hazelwood, Cummins, and Stark, and Nathan Lyon, the same four who've been playing for gosh, I don't know how many years. They just kind of keep going,
they've
right?
dominated the sport. Yep.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
and they just
at least
completely
for now,
dominated, of course, Indies, right? So I think they pretty much won every match. I think.
right? But I mean, everyone does. I really think India, Australia, England, South Africa, maybe New Zealand, they're sort of in New Zealand maybe a tier below, but they're kind of the top teams and everyone else is sort of below that, right? So yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting. I think our next one is at home against South Africa, right? In November, next
South
test
Africa,
series,
yeah.
I think.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's the
if I'm
one.
not
And I
mistaken.
think there's a bunch
So,
of few things. I don't know what happens to the Champions Trophy. I don't know. I think I probably want India to rest up at this point. I mean, they played one of the most hard fought series. In fact, one thing you can say that every match came down to the fifth
mm-hmm.
day, pretty much.
Hmm.
The escape that
Hmm.
India did
Yep.
in match number 4, how they escaped
Yeah.
with
How about that?
both
That was
Washington.
equally amazing, actually, if you look at it, right? That was
Exactly.
just
We,
phenomenal. 5 sessions batted, 5 sessions, and lost 4 wickets total. And that too,
yeah.
they lost two of them in the first over. And then they had 5 sessions losing essentially 2 wickets. That is almost unheard of. It doesn't matter how flat a pitch is for someone to last that long and not make mistakes for more than 1.5 days of play. That's just beyond good. That is like very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. Yeah, I'm. very, very impressed with the way the test match turned out. I mean, of course, if England had won, they would have deserved it. Obviously, they
Yeah,
chasing this win. I mean, I think that would
they would
have
have been the clutch team, right? Close game till the end, and
yeah,
then in more matches than not, they were the team who in the clutch moment edged ahead, right? If they had gotten 3-1 ahead, literally in all the three test matches, they would have done that, right? Where before that fourth inning started, I think India would have been the favorites, right? Like in the first test, I thought India was a favorite, the 370 target. Second match, India won, but the third match that England won, I mean, India was a favorite, chasing just 192. So, yeah, it would have been sort of just England again plays well in the clutch, but this time it was the other way around. Isn't it
yeah,
amazing, Sridhar? Like there was a stat, and maybe Joe Root piled enough runs, but like in the top five or seven batters, like majority were Indians, and even in the top wicket takers, there was a lot that were Indians. So I think stats wise, India dominated because remember, one of their wins was by 373 runs, right? And then
yeah,
in the drawn test match, England got to play just once, right? India played twice. So that skews the stat a bit. But we kind of outdid them in batting and bowling in some ways.
yeah,
I think if India had
absolutely.
played clutch, I mean, I really think that 192, if they would have chased, not lost those wickets early. You remember that
Mhm.
horrible shot that Jaiswal played and all that. I mean, this could have been 3-1, which would have been just phenomenal.
Could have been 3-1, and then the first test match. Think about the first test match also,
First, you
right?
got to give it to them, right? I mean, they lost just 5 wickets. So, like, it's not like, oh, just 10 more runs and we would have won it. No, it was fairly convincing at the end, right? And they had a start that they won 89-run partnership or something like that, right? So, it was a pretty convincing chase. I would say they fully deserved that. Second match, India decimated. I think it's the third one. But then England will argue the fourth one, they actually were in such a strong position. It's a miracle that India won. I mean, India drew it, right? So they kind of deserved to win the fourth one. So I think 2-2 is a fair result if I think about it. I think this is kind of the best result because both sides really were pretty equal.
Yeah, I think end of the day, I mean, it was a win. I mean, I think it's a win for Test cricket, right? How many times that you can say this, right?
Huge win.
Um,
Yeah.
Huge win for Test cricket. In fact, that's one of the things that I've heard day in and day out. Just listening to some couple of podcasts. I actually want to listen to the one with Harsha Bogle and Dinesh Karthik, where they're
Hmm.
talking about it's a win for Test cricket. Um, Absolutely, everybody's been saying this. I mean, if you look at even some of the other England players or anybody else saying that, I mean, everybody recognizes this was probably one of the toughest, well played series with both the teams. I mean, obviously, the pitches didn't offer much. I mean, in terms of, the seam that you're used to seeing in England conditions. But
Hmm.
this definitely proved to be like a feather in the test cricket. And then when you look at the crowds that came into even today, when the entire match was just only 1 hour and the stadium was
Yeah.
absolutely packed. So that tells you about
Yep.
the nature of that. So it was it was um, it was definitely one of the best test series that obviously with the Australia one didn't turn out to be the way it is. But I know when you think about what happened there, right? You know we the India stuck with players that were past their prime. So when you think about what
Hmm.
this young team has done, where they have no fear, with even with Sai Sudarshan or even with Jaiswal or with like Pant or with Washington Sundar, the approach is way different than I don't know what would have happened, right? If this is the same, if the same team had gone to Australia, I'm not saying they would have won, they would have lost 3-1. I think they would have given their best effort there. I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of apples to oranges. I mean, I think the Australian attack is much better. I mean, remember that Scott Boland bowled? He's probably their best bowler.
Yeah.
Um, so he wasn't even the top three pacers, and he really bowled very consistently and all that, right? They know their conditions. So, yeah, but I think we would have fared better. I would like to think. Um, because pretty much Rohit Sharma failed so miserably. So our start was always bad.
Exactly. And
And
he's not a
Kohli
test
failed in
player.
the
I
middle
mean,
most of the time.
Kohli
Right.
failed
Kohli
too.
had that one
So my
century in the first test. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I was saying. Like, if
And
you
I feel
had the
very sad
youngsters
about
there,
that. When I see Joe Root bat still, Virat Kohli is such a classy player and all that. I feel just sad that his game, he was not able
yeah,
to keep it up like how Joe Root has. I mean, the game lost out on that, I feel. And it's a correct decision for them to let him go. But, I wish that hadn't, like his form hadn't declined. I think he has enough in him from a fitness perspective, temperament perspective, hunger perspective to like do what Joe Root is still doing, which is phenomenal. So,
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, this was
It'll
good,
be fun.
Amit, and obviously we'll be back to do our NFL stuff. But I thought this was excellent win for India. I mean, the Test cricket won 2-2. End of the day, how they tied the Test series. Everything was hard fought
Mm-hmm.
by both teams. I mean, England could have been wondering if they had not overused Stokes, maybe he would have played this final test. What would have happened if Vokes was 100% fit? That there's a lot of questions and answers you can think about as from an England standpoint, but you know their players with Crawley, Duckett, Ollie Pope, and then both Root and Brooks. They've all played really
Mm-hmm.
well. If there's one thing that England was missing, obviously they had a little bit missing on the bowling department, especially when Chris Stokes went down. But other than that, it was an evenly matched series, and it was the fitting result, the way it should have ended. And England, India comes up on triumph, and then Siraj was the man of the. I think he was the man of the series, right? If not, I'm mistaken.
Was it? I don't know. I haven't watched. So my one of my treats for tonight is to watch the ball by ball of because I missed the whole thing and I haven't watched highlights. I want to actually watch every
They were
game.
literally
So
showing that before
every ball.
before we got on this podcast. My friend texted me and said, "Hey, they're just starting to play." So I just started on Fox Cricket here. So I'll probably go and watch it later too. Probably watch some of
Yeah.
the interviews and things like that. So just hang on a bit. Thank you, Amit, for
Okay.
doing this on a
I will.
short notice, but it was great. Just I'm going to stop the recording and good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.